Hello everyone, Terry here. A couple of weeks ago, I asked you to submit questions for my first AMA after hitting 100 subscribers. And wow, you absolutely delivered. I'm excited to deep dive into these because they touch on everything from why I started this channel to practical career advice that I wish someone had told me years ago. So get comfortable and let's jump right in. The first question comes from many of you actually, and it's probably the most personal one. What made you want to start a YouTube channel? You know, this question made me sit back and really think about it. The surface answer is easy. I want to share knowledge, build a community, all that good stuff. But the real answer is actually deeper than that. Here's the thing. Unless you stay with the exact same company, with the exact same management chain your whole career, and which almost nobody does anymore, no one really understands your value as a whole person. Think about your last job interview. How long was it? Maybe an hour for a phone interview and 3 hours for an on-site interview? And based on that short interaction, someone decides whether you are capable of doing the job for the next few years. It's kind of insane when you think about it. No one cares any more than that interview. Or even at work. You give a presentation, maybe it goes well, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you're having an off day. Maybe the topic doesn't showcase your best skills, but that's what people will remember about you. And that's how they categorize you in their memory system. So I wanted this channel to be a platform where I could share my whole self, not just the polished, interview-ready version, but the person who makes mistakes, learns from them, gets excited about random topics, and sometimes spends way too much time perfecting a story that nobody asked for. It's like building a portfolio of who I am beyond just the bullet points on a resume. Sometimes the external world hasn't had the time to really see what you can bring to the table, so you need to create that space yourself. But here's the beautiful part. In doing this, I get to meet people like you who are on similar journeys. We can help each other grow, share stories, and celebrate our wins together. And having this channel also gives me a reason to keep learning and thinking critically about my field because I know I will be sharing these insights with you. Plus, there's something satisfying about having a record of your thoughts and growth over time. I can already see how my thinking has evolved from just those first few videos. All right, question number 2. How different is real-world data science from what you learn in courses? Oh man, this question brings back some painful memories. Let me tell you about a story that perfectly illustrates this gap. Picture this. I'm fresh out of school, working at a consulting firm, and I'm assigned to this client presentation. We're showing them our analysis of their customer segmentation strategy. I've spent literally weeks on this analysis. Every statistical test was perfect. Every assumption was validated. Every formula was double and triple checked. The night before the presentation, I'm up until 3 a.m. making sure every single formula on every slide is not just correct, but beautifully formatted. I included detailed methodology sections, step-by-step explanations, confidence intervals, you name it. I was so proud of this work. I walk into that conference room feeling like a statistical superhero. I start presenting, and then I can see the confusion on my clients' faces. They visibly checked out after a few minutes. They're checking their phones and emails. About 10 minutes in, the client interrupts me and says, "This is all very impressive, but can you just tell us what we should do differently?" My heart literally stopped at that moment. I've got 30 more slides of beautiful analysis to show them. After the meeting, my engagement manager pulls me aside, and this conversation changed everything for me. He says, "Terry, I can see you put incredible work into this analysis, but here's what you need to understand. They didn't hire us to show how smart we are. They hired us to solve their problem." That hit me hard because it went against everything I learned in school. In academia, showing your work is everything. Your professors want to see every step of your reasoning. But in real world, people mostly care about outcomes and impact. And here's what I've realized over the years. For those of us with technical backgrounds, it's incredibly tempting to include all of the technical details and show all the effort that we're putting into solving the problem. We want recognition for the complexity we navigated, the elegant solutions we found, and the late nights we spent debugging code. But that's actually counterproductive. What corporations hired us for is the impact the solutions bring to their businesses. We need to get through that mental hurdle of leading with solution, highlighting the business value, and then, only when asked, deep dive into the technical details. Now, before anyone in the comments comes for me, this absolutely does not mean statistical foundations are not important. They're critical. You need them to arrive at the right conclusions and build models that actually work. A model that looks good in PowerPoint but fails in production helps nobody. What I'm saying is just that we need to give ourselves that internal satisfaction of knowing we did the work right instead of seeking external validation by showcasing every technical detail. The client doesn't need to see your beautiful code to trust that your recommendation will increase their revenue by 15%. So if you're early in your career, here's my advice. Master the technical skills, absolutely, but practice explaining your insights in plain English. Practice starting with the business impact and working backwards to the methodology. Your future self will thank you. Question number 3. What can data scientists do after being laid off? This is such an important question, and honestly, it breaks my heart that so many talented people are dealing with this right now. But here's what I want you to know. As a data scientist, you actually have more options than you might realize. Let me break this down into what I call backwards compatible career moves, because your skills are way more transferable than you think. First, think about stepping back one level. If you're a data scientist, you should be able to transition into a data analyst role relatively easily. Now, I know that might feel like moving backwards, but hear me out. These roles are often more stable, and you can use them as a launching pad while you figure out your next move. Plus, you'll probably be the most technically sophisticated analyst on the team, which has its advantages. If you've been working at a big tech, traditional industries are desperate for your experience. I'm talking healthcare, finance, manufacturing, retail. They're all trying to catch up to what you've been doing the past 3 years at Google or Netflix. You're not just a data scientist to them. You're someone who's seen the future of how data can transform businesses. And the second option, and this is where it gets interesting, consulting or contract work. Even with all the AI hype, there are still tons of companies that are completely lost when it comes to digital transformation. They need someone to hold their hands through the whole process. Here's the beautiful part about consulting. After you do a few similar projects, you start to see patterns. You can then standardize your approach, create templates, build repeatable processes. Suddenly, you're not just trading time for money, you're scaling your expertise. I've seen people who get laid off from big tech start consulting firms that are now making more money than they ever did as employees. Third option might sound crazy, but stick with me. Consumer products with data-driven decision-making. I'm talking about boba shops, food trucks, local restaurants, small retail businesses. Most of these operate purely on gut instinct, and that's how we've always done it. Imagine walking into a local coffee shop and helping them understand their customer patterns, optimize their inventory, figure out which promotions actually work. You'll be like a business superhero to them. And the best part? There are thousands of these businesses in every city. Imagine the impact that you can make there. And lastly, and this is my favorite option, and I'm really passionate about this, more data scientists should become founders. I genuinely believe that we make incredible entrepreneurs. Now, I know what you're thinking. Terry, we are risk averse. We like data and certainty. Startups like chaos. But that's exactly why you'd be successful. Most startups fail because they make emotional decisions without data. They build products nobody wants because they've never validated their assumptions. And you know how to test hypotheses. You know how to measure what matters. You know how to iterate based on evidence rather than opinion. These are literally the core skills of successful entrepreneurs. We shouldn't self-discourage ourselves from the entrepreneurship world just because we're data-driven. The world needs more evidence-based founders. So if you're dealing with a layoff right now, I know it's tough, but you have the skills that are valuable in more contexts than you realize. Sometimes the best thing can happen to us is being forced out of our comfort zone. And good luck. Question number 4. What made your application stand out when landing your first big job? Okay, I'm going to start with the most important thing. Luck is definitely a huge part of it. Anyone who tells you it's purely merit is either lying or delusional. But there are things that you can do to increase your surface area for luck. Let me share 3 things that I think made a difference. But first, some context. I didn't go to a prestigious undergraduate school. I wasn't the smartest person in any room. I didn't have family connections in tech or consulting. So I had to figure out how to stand out in other ways. The first thing, don't self-limit what you think you can or want to do. When I was in grad school, my main goal was just finding a job that would sponsor my visa so I could stay in the United States. That was it. Everything else was secondary. So I went to every single career fair, every info session. I didn't care if it was a company that I'd never heard of or an industry I knew nothing about. I applied to anything that was remotely related to my skills instead of sitting around imagining what that job would be like and whether I'd enjoy it. You can never accurately predict what an opportunity is going to bring you or whether you're going to like it. That's a later problem. Your job as a job seeker is to get as many opportunities as possible and figure out which ones are worth pursuing. And the second thing is showcasing your growth trajectory. This was actually my secret weapon. Like I said, I didn't start from a prestigious place, but I could show clear upward momentum. I went from a no-name undergrad to a decent graduate school. Then from graduate school to internships at increasingly recognizable companies. Then from those internships to McKinsey. Then from McKinsey to data science roles at big tech companies. What I realized is that people actually find growth trajectories more interesting than static excellence. If you've been at the top your whole life, that's impressive, but not necessarily inspiring. But if you're clearly on an upward path, people want to be part of that story. They want to help you continue climbing. So if you're not starting life on easy mode, and most of us aren't, that's actually an advantage. You have room to grow, and that growth story is way more compelling to hiring managers and interviewers. The last thing, and this might be the most important, unshakable positivity. I don't mean toxic positivity where you pretend everything is great. I mean the ability to genuinely not let rejection crush your spirit. I've wanted so many things in my life that I didn't get. Dream jobs that went to someone else, schools that rejected me, opportunities that fell through at the last minute. And early in my career, every rejection felt personal and devastating. But somewhere along the way, I developed this mindset that not getting what you want is just part of the experience of being ambitious. It's not a reflection of your worth or your potential. It's just data point. So instead of protecting myself by wanting fewer things, I kept pursuing great opportunities with full energy. I didn't become cynical or jaded. I stayed curious and optimistic about what was possible. In interviews, this translated into genuine enthusiasm rather than desperation. When you're not attached to needing the specific job, you can actually show up as your best self and have conversations instead of performing what you think they want to hear. So yeah, these are my 3 things. Don't limit your applications, show your growth trajectory, and maintain optimism despite rejection. But remember, luck is still a huge factor. Sometimes it's about being in the right place at the right time with the right skills. So best of luck to who asked this question. Question 5. What would you do differently job searching as a new grad in 2025? This is such a great question because the job market has fundamentally changed since I was job searching about a decade ago. We're dealing with completely different problems now. Back when I was searching, my biggest challenge was not being prepared enough for the interviews I was getting. I was actually getting a decent number of first round interviews, but I was bombing the final rounds because I wasn't taking preparation seriously enough. Actually, I made a whole video about this. I ended up canceling all my other interviews just to focus entirely on preparation for McKinsey. I spent 2 months doing nothing but case study practice, reading about the company, practicing every possible questions, and I got that job. But today, the problem is completely flipped. The biggest challenge isn't passing the interviews, it's getting these interviews in the first place. Think about what's changed. There are way more candidates on the market now. LinkedIn's one-click apply feature means every job posting is getting flooded by thousands of applications. There are fewer entry-level positions available, so competition is intense. Plus, AI is screening the resumes before any human ever sees them. So if you can't get into the door, it doesn't matter how good you are at technical interviews or case studies. You never get the chance to show your skills. If I were job searching today, I would completely flip my strategy. Instead of spending most of my time preparing for interviews I might get, I'd spend most of my time trying to get those interviews in the first place. First, I'd make my resume absolutely bulletproof. Not just good, it has to be perfect. I'd hire a professional resume writer if I had to. I'd study what keywords the AI systems are looking for. I'd A/B test different versions to see which ones get more responses. Second, I'd apply to way more jobs than I felt comfortable. Not just the dream jobs, but anything in the ballpark. You need volume in this market. I'd set a goal of applying to 10 to 20 jobs per day. Third, and this is crucial, I'd systematically work in my network. Not a gross transactional way, but genuinely reconnecting with people and ask for advice. I'm exploring opportunities in data science. What trends are you seeing in this field? Often, referrals come out of these natural conversations. I'd also get creative about visibility. Maybe that's contributing to open source projects, writing blog posts about interesting analyses, or even making TikTok videos about data science concepts. Anything that get my name and skills in front of people who might be hiring. Here's the key though. Once you do get an interview, then you switch modes completely. Stop everything else and prepare like your life depends on it. Because in this market, you might not get another chance for a while. I know this sounds intense, but remember, you only need one yes. All those rejections don't matter once you land the right opportunity. So don't take them personally. Just keep playing the numbers game until you find your match. Question 6. How did you make those pop text animations? Oh man, you're asking about my deep, dark secret. The rabbit hole of video editing that I definitely fell way too far down. So I started with basically zero video editing experience. I knew I wanted my videos to look professional and engaging, but I had no idea how much time and effort that actually requires. I spent probably 40 hours learning DaVinci Resolve, which is incredibly powerful but intimidatingly complex. Then I discovered CapCut Pro, which is more user-friendly but still has a learning curve. For those pop text animations specifically, there are a few approaches. You can find templates online. Sites like Motion Array or even YouTube has tons of free templates you can download and customize. And that's probably the most smart approach. But of course, I had to learn how to make them from scratch. So I'm watching YouTube tutorials at 2 a.m., learning about keyframes and easing curves and text tracking. I also worked with some video editors on platforms like Fiverr and Upwork. Honestly, for the amount of time I was spending on this, it's probably way more efficient to just hire professionals from the beginning. But here's my current dilemma. I still don't know what's the right amount balance between editing, special effects, and focusing on the content. Like, these animations are fun and they definitely make the videos more engaging, but am I spending way too much time on them? So I'm curious about your thoughts. When you watch my videos, do these little animations add the experience, or are they distracting? Should I dial it back and focus more on just delivering great content? Or do you need them to keep the attention? Let me know in the comments below what you think. And if you're also going down the video editing rabbit hole, may the odds be ever in your favor. It's a fun journey, but it definitely takes over your life if you're not careful. Wow, that was really fun. I have to say, the quality of questions you're asking shows that we're building something special here. The fact that you're thinking about these career challenges, these industry realities, these personal growth questions, it tells me we're attracting exactly the right kind of community. So here's what I'm thinking for our next milestone. When we hit 1,000 subscribers, and at this rate, I think that's going to happen sooner than I'd expected. I want to do something special. I'm planning to have a surprise guest visit. Someone who can share their secrets, not just to career success, but to building a genuinely fulfilling life. I can't reveal who it is yet, but I think you're going to love this conversation. Plus, it'll be the first time that I do an interview style video. In the meantime, keep these amazing questions coming. What other topics should I cover? What challenges are you facing that I might be able to help with? What guests do you want to see on this channel? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.